If you had a time machine, a single round trip to any point in the past, what's the very first thing you'd do? Seriously, give it a real thought. Would you go back to watch the Great Pyramids being built? Maybe leap to the Cretaceous period and see a T-Rex with your own eyes? Or would you try to stop a historical tragedy, convinced you could make the world a better place? Section 1. The grandiose and historical. Let's start with the blockbusters, the epic adventures that feel like they're ripped from a history book. The pull to witness a massive historical event is strong. Imagine being in the stands of the Colosseum in ancient Rome, or being a fly on the wall as Da Vinci paints the Mona Lisa. You could be there for the Wright brothers' first flight, or watch Neil Armstrong take that giant leap for mankind. These are moments that define humanity, and the chance to see them live is almost irresistible. But let's get real for a second. Showing up in ancient Egypt in jeans and a t-shirt, speaking a language nobody understands, would probably get you into serious trouble before you could even say Pharaoh. You'd have zero immunity to the diseases of the time, and they'd have no immunity to yours. You could accidentally start a plague. And that trip to see the dinosaurs, you'd be dropped into an ecosystem where, for the first time in your life, you are squarely on the menu. You're not the apex predator here. So, while historical tourism sounds amazing, it's a logistical nightmare. You'd be a total alien, biologically vulnerable and unable to communicate. Maybe the first thing you'd do isn't to watch a battle, but just to figure out how to survive for 24 hours. The fantasy of grand observation quickly becomes a gritty survival story. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? That the most epic journey in history might start with a desperate search for clean water. Section 2. The personal and emotional. Okay, so let's zoom in. Let's move from the grand spectacle of history to the quiet, intimate moments that actually shape our lives. For many of us, the first trip back wouldn't be to see a pyramid, it would be to see a person. To have one more conversation with a grandparent who passed away too soon. To finally ask them the questions you were too young to even think of, or just to sit with them one last time. Or maybe you'd go back and see your parents when they were your age, to see them not as parents, but just as people, with their own hopes and fears. Another deeply human instinct is to visit your younger self. Imagine standing in front of that awkward teenager or that confused young adult. What do you say? Do you give them warnings, spoilers, or do you just offer a little reassurance? Hey, it's going to be okay. You'll figure it out. Stop being so hard on yourself. This isn't about changing the world. It's about understanding, healing, and finding personal closure. These journeys aren't about spectacle. They're about connection. They're about finding a missing piece of your own story. And in a lot of ways, these small personal missions are far more profound than witnessing any historical event. Mid-video CTA. Thinking about it, what personal moment would you want to revisit? Is there a person you'd want to see, or a piece of advice you'd give your younger self? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to read your stories. Section 3. The clever and selfish. Alright, let's be honest with ourselves. Not every impulse is noble or sentimental. For a lot of us, the first thought that flashes through our mind is, how can I get rich from this? This is the clever, selfish, and let's face it, fun part of time travel. The most obvious plan is the lottery. Just scribble down the winning numbers from a huge jackpot, pop back a few days, buy a ticket, and boom, you're set for life. Or why not play the long game? Go back to the 1980s and put a few grand into a tiny company called Apple. Or jump to 2010 and buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly can. You wouldn't just be rich, you'd be a financial icon, a visionary praised for your incredible foresight. You could even take it further. Why not invent something before its time? You could write all of Shakespeare's plays before he does, or compose Beethoven's symphonies. You could patent the telephone or the internet. You'd go down in history as the greatest genius who ever lived. But would any of it feel real? There's an emptiness to unearned success. The money would feel like a cheat code. The fame, a fraud. You'd always know you weren't a visionary, just a thief who stole from the future. It's a tempting fantasy, no doubt, but it begs the question, if you didn't earn it, is it really yours? And would a life of effortless victory feel completely hollow? Section 4. The profound and paradoxical. So far, we've been assuming you can change things. But what if you can't? This is where we get into the truly mind-bending side of time travel. The paradoxes. The most famous is the grandfather paradox. The idea is simple. What if you go back in time and kill your own grandfather before he meets your grandmother? If you do, your parent is never born, which means you're never born. But if you were never born, who went back in time to kill him? It's a perfect contradiction that seems to make changing the past impossible. Physicists and philosophers have a couple of fascinating ways around this. The first is called the Novikov self-consistency principle. This idea suggests that any action that would create a paradox simply can't happen. It has a probability of 0. The universe itself would conspire to stop you. If you tried to shoot your grandfather, the gun would jam, or a car would swerve and knock you over. Your attempt to change the past was, in fact, always a part of the past, ensuring that history remains consistent. The second solution is even wilder, the many worlds interpretation. This theory says that when you alter the past, you don't change your own timeline. You create a brand new parallel one. So you could go back and kill your grandfather. But in doing so, you'd just splinter off into a new reality where you will never be born. Meanwhile, your original timeline, the one you left, remains perfectly unchanged. You'd still exist, but you'd be a permanent refugee, trapped in a new reality of your own making. Section 5. The unexpected answer. We've gone from the epic and the personal to the selfish and the paradoxical. But what if the most profound answer is one we haven't even touched on? What if the first thing you do in the past is absolutely nothing? Not nothing as in you don't go, but nothing as in you don't interfere. You don't fix a disaster, you don't chase riches, and you don't heal an old wound. Instead, you just are. Imagine using your time machine not for some grand purpose, but for pure observation. You could travel to a quiet afternoon in a 1950 suburb. No smartphones, no 24/7 news, no social media. You'd just sit on a park bench and watch a world operating at a completely different rhythm. You're not there to change a thing, but to experience a different way of being, a moment of true digital detox across time. Or, to take it to its most profound conclusion, what if you went back not just centuries, but eons, to witness the first spark of life in the primordial ocean, or further still, to the moments after the Big Bang, to watch the first stars ignite in a silent universe? You couldn't alter anything. You would be there simply to witness the silent majesty of creation, to understand our place in the cosmos not by reading a book, but by seeing it. In a world obsessed with doing, changing, and fixing, maybe the most radical act a time traveler could perform is to simply watch and understand. Conclusion. So, what's the first thing you'd do? This one question takes us from the spectacle of history to the privacy of the human heart. It tempts us with get-rich-quick schemes and challenges us with the mind-bending rules of reality itself. And in the end, our answer reveals what we truly value. Is it adventure? Connection? Power? Or is it something quieter, like peace or understanding? This hypothetical question isn't just a fun little puzzle. It's a mirror. It reflects our deepest desires, our biggest regrets, and our fundamental curiosity about the world and our place in it. So I'll ask one last time, what's the first thing you do? Your answer is a story only you can tell.